Welcome to the Manitoba Ag Days podcast, where we hear from some of the most relevant, up-to-date, informational speakers in our industry. In episode 27, Dr. Cody Creelman, veterinarian at Veterinary Agri-Health Services, tells his story, Tales from the Cattle Pen.
Hello, Palpation Nation, and welcome to Brandon. First off, I start all my talks. How many of you have no idea who I am? I always like to get context. Ooh, that's bad. That hurts. You guys must be grain farmers or something, right? Okay, I'm going to give a little bit more detail or background than I normally would because I got too many hands up in the air. So as it was announced, I'm Dr. Cody Creelman. I'm a beef cattle veterinarian at Vet Agri-Health Services in Airdrie, Alberta. I am a beef cattle only practitioner. I don't do cats, I don't do dogs, I do a little bit of horses, and I do a little bit of donkey work. Look at that guy. That one even says the Donkey King. You would almost think from my website that I was a donkey vet. I'm not a donkey vet. I have one client that has a lot of donkeys, and they make for good vlog material. I also have a couple of vet practices up in northern Alberta as well. So I own 3 mixed animal practices in northern Alberta, but I don't actually practice there. I just own and manage those practices. So my core practice area is just feedlot and cow-calf. I spend about 50% of my field time working on cow-calf and 50% of my field time working on feedlots. And my clientele ranges from anywhere between 30 cows all the way up to 30,000 cows. So the entire breadth of the Western Canadian cattle industry is represented within my practice. I have 6 veterinarians, well, 6.5. We have a half veterinarian and he does dairy work, but we don't actually talk about him too much. His name's Bruce. We kind of keep that on the down low. So 6 full-time veterinarians that do beef cattle only. But on top of that, my practice also does some other things. So in terms of total time, we would also dedicate about a third of our time to research, doing research for pharmacology, doing research for academia, doing research for new startup companies, researching new technologies that we use in the beef cattle industries, all the ways from proof of concepts, all the way up to large pen, large field trials, where we would have thousands and thousands and thousands of feedlot cattle enrolled. And then on top of that, the other portion of our business is also students. So students is a very, very important and big part of our practice. We're part of the distributed teaching hospital in the University of Calgary. So they don't actually have a teaching hospital. They rely on practices such as my own I'm just going to switch this. It's too distracting. All your guys' eyes are watching the donkey go back and forth. I'll make you go to my boring vet practice website. You'll get sick of those pictures in a few seconds. The student component is we have externs, we have students in their final year rotation coming through our practice on a continual basis. We're training the next generation of veterinarians. And on top of that, not only do we have students that come from the University of Calgary, we have students that come from the University of Saskatchewan, the Western College of Veterinary Medicine. We have students coming from all around the world. I don't know why our practice is so interesting to people in Australia, but we get dozens and dozens and dozens of applicants trying to come for externships with our practice, and we try to accommodate as many as we can. We'll probably get between now 200 to 300 student requests per year at our practice to come and learn how to be progressive bovine veterinarians. So why am I standing here today is a big question, and a lot of that comes down to what I've been doing and why I've been doing it. Kind of the backstory of the vlog, the backstory of my social media presence, why I storytell the story of a large animal veterinarian, and more importantly, why do I storytell the story of beef cattle producers? Now, I did not grow up techie at all. I went through university, both undergrad and my veterinary medicine degree, without a smartphone. Everybody thinks that I'm some techie guy. I did not have a cell phone. I would have not passed university, let alone vet school, if I had a smartphone in my pocket. If I had Snapchat, it would have been game over. I would have never, ever passed. I didn't even have a real smartphone until I think my second or third year in practice, because I had a BlackBerry before that, and that doesn't even count as a smartphone. Most of you kids don't even know what a BlackBerry is. So I didn't grow up with the whole social media experience. I was the guy that said, I'll never get Facebook. What do I need Facebook for? I was just very happy with what I had. That brings me to this slide. So in 2011, that's when I joined the practice as an associate veterinarian. I'd grown up on a cattle farm. I was the stereotypical cow vet student. I just really, really loved farmers and producers and cow medicine. So that's why I went into that practice. And in 2011 and 2012, I was starting to think, this is going to be the life for me. This is where I want to spend all of my effort and all of my time, is at a practice like this. I was really, really enjoying it. And in 2012, I wanted to start taking our practice into the 21st century. The two partners at the time, they were in their late 50s, early 60s. They were the guys, they're just like a lot of the older producers out here. They were the guys that actually I think they had to pay the white pages not to publish their phone number in the phone book because they didn't want anybody to call them. They were happy with what they had. They were happy with the practice that they had. It was a very boutique, kind of niche, medium-sized feedlot practice with a little bit of cow-calf mixed in. And I wanted to take that to the next level. I wanted to take us to the 21st century. But I didn't know how. So the first thing that I thought about was, okay, guys, we need a website. It's about time. It's 2012. Let's get with it. Let's get a website. And it's that website that actually changed the entire world for me in terms of how I present myself. In 2012, we hired a Dutch programmer, like as Dutch as they come. Cheap, crazy hair, tall, blonde, so stereotypical Dutch. Did I offend any Dutch guys back there? You look offended. You're Dutch. I saw you all the way back there. No? You just have Dutch neighbors? He came and he developed this website, but he did more than that for me. He flew over from the Netherlands and he went in the post-mortem pit with me. He was riding around in the truck. I had him hacking deads and he was getting sprayed with blood and abscess and cow shit. It was spectacular. And he bought into our story. He saw what a special piece of the world that we had, and he really encouraged me to start telling that story. And I had no idea. I wasn't on Twitter. I wasn't on Instagram. I didn't understand what he was saying by that a website is great, but you actually have to create a story and context behind it. This website is very static. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't drive traffic to it. So if you want to market your practice, market your services, grow your business, you have to be where the eyeballs and the ears of the demographic is, of where the producers are. And I get a lot of credit from a lot of producers for being an advocate for animal agriculture, of showing showing with transparency and with context and advocating what we do. But I just want to make it clear, that was never my intent. I think it's a really nice byproduct, but my entire goal with starting to create the social media presence was just to market my local veterinary practice, was to show producers that I was an option within our very competitive market of Central Alberta, that I was somebody you could trust. I was a veterinarian that you would want to call. So everything started with Twitter for me, okay? That was the first one that I bought into. And the reason for that was simple, is I didn't buy into this whole social environment, this social media thing, this Web 2.0. I didn't understand the interconnectedness that what social media was today. I completely missed that phenomenon as it not being social media, but it being Web 2.0. It was the internet. It's a really stupid story, but the reason that it clicked for me was I was in Disneyland with my wife. It was the first time she'd ever been. I had only been one time before. It was our 5th year wedding anniversary, and we were walking up to the gates of Disneyland, the Golden Gates, the most magical place on earth where there's no sadness. Everything is just beautifully happy. And we're walking up towards the gates, and all of a sudden, police and security start yelling and screaming and pushing everybody back into the streets. And there was a bomb threat right at the gates of Disneyland, and they shut the park down. They almost never shut the park down. And they said, we don't know when it's going to start. We're standing out in the streets. My wife is crying like crazy. Our whole trip is ruined. Everything is ruined. What are we going to do? We don't know what's going on. And that's when I whipped out my phone and I typed in it was the first time I'd ever used a hashtag. I didn't know what a hashtag was. I typed in hashtag Disneyland and pressed search. And this whole world, all of a sudden, of people with the same vested interest as it came to life, that I was seeing posts of security and LAPD and people in the park. Those lucky bastards in the park that got in on the Magic Morning, they didn't shut the rides down. So there's like 37 people. There was 37 attendees in Disneyland that got to go on Splash Mountain 20 times each. And I was going to go on Magic Morning that morning, but I was too tired. I never slept in again. But this world, this interconnectedness that I understood now, we had this vested interest of getting into Disneyland, and I had information and I had updates. And for me, that stupid little hashtag Disneyland changed everything for me. I realized that this is where the attention of people were. And if I wanted to drive some business within my veterinary practice, I had to start storytelling where people's attention was. So I started on Twitter. Twitter was very simple for me to an extent. At that time, it was 140 characters. It was storytelling via text. So you could tell a story within 140 characters. So I used to do this thing called Today in the Postmortem Pit, and I would literally just list out chronic pneumonia, mycoplasma pneumonia, Histophilus somni. I would just list out these things, and there was this group of people that started following that were interested in learning about feedlot medicine, that were interested in cattle, that just wanted to learn, or the pen riders themselves, they would be following along so they could see why these animals died. And I was telling the story. I was showing, I would literally just tweet, I'm heading out to a calving, and then I would tweet a picture of the calf laying there after. I started that kind of chronological storytelling as my life as a veterinarian, but I'm a terrible writer. Twitter was not the thing for me. You would think for hours or sometimes minutes of what is the witty thing, what is the funny thing to say. It just didn't quite click for me. It wasn't the right medium for me. So from there, I didn't get this slide up. And while I'm stalling for a second, what time do we go to? When I'm finished? When people start leaving? Okay. Typing with lots of eyes on me. So while I was in this mindset, I started thinking about what are the other platforms? Where are other people spending their time, and where could I potentially market what I'm doing? Where could I tell my story? And that's where I landed on Instagram. Instagram felt a lot more native to me. It felt a lot more visual and more rich, and kind of scratched my artistic niche, or my artistic itch of telling that story, but showing people that spectacular case of pericarditis. Do you see my lovely pre-vet student Vlad holding up a bovine heart? That's a heart. It was huge, covered in fibrin. It's called a bread and butter lesion, because when you take two pieces of bread that are buttered and you slap them together and you pull the bread apart, it looks like butter. So that's what that lesion looks like. It looks like that slapped together butter. I was able to more, appropriately or more richly tell that story, to provide information, to provide value, to market my practice. But it still wasn't quite enough. I wasn't able to just show my full personality. It didn't tie entirely into how I wanted to voice what I was seeing and voice the story of being a large animal veterinarian in central Alberta. Do you guys remember the I won't bring this one up. Do you guys remember the platform Vine? Some of the younger ones might. So Vine was like, I got a big smile there. It was like, is it 7 seconds looping video or 10 seconds? 7 seconds? 7-second looping video. And that was the first time, that was pivotal for me, is it was this looping video platform where you could take a couple different shots, but you only had 7 seconds to tell that story. But that was pivotal for me because that was the first time I had ever turned a camera onto my face. Now, most of us hate even hearing the sound of our own voice on voicemail or on video. let alone seeing ourselves in video form. That's like terrifying to 95% of the people. And I did this really, it was just a stupid thing, but the first thing that I ever started doing with Vine was what I called the Schnauzer weather report, because what do farmers always talk about? The weather, right? So I thought I'd do a Schnauzer weather report. I have my little Schnauzer truck dog with me on every call that I've ever been on. And what I would do is I would point the camera at my face and I would say, now over to Phineas with the weather. And then the next scene within that 7 seconds would be Phineas, my Schnauzer, in some sort of inclement weather situation, whether it be hail driving in through the passenger window that I opened up, or 3 feet of snow falling on him inside of our truck because it had snowed and I had pulled the sunroof and all the snow dropped down on him and me as well. We both sacrificed for that shot. Or rain, or extreme cold. But it was the first time where I started to get to show who I was, to have a voice, to use a medium that I was more and more comfortable with. And that was a natural progression into the app Snapchat. You guys must know what Snapchat is. If you're young, you're using it. If you're older, all your kids, that's all the time. Where all of your kids' time is being spent is on Snapchat. This disappearing video app. And at that time when I got onto Snapchat, they didn't even have the ability for me to share my story. There was no distribution. I started on Snapchat just sending every video that I made to my entire list. I would sit there and click for a few minutes and send those videos out. And then it made it easier and easier. But what Snapchat is what I would call the proto-vlog, the proto-video blog, where I was using video to chronologically tell my story every single day, or at least as often as I could. So it would have the start of, hey everybody, today I'm heading out to calving, and then it would be a couple of videos or pictures of the cow with the feet sticking out, and me pulling the calf, because my farmers are really good. They will pick up my camera or my phone and start recording me if I'm doing something really fun, especially abscesses. I can't keep farmers from keeping their hands off of my camera when I'm popping an abscess. They think every abscess should be recorded. But that was the start of me. After the video, I would usually provide a little bit of information. So I would say like, oh, I had this calving. I provided her a lidocaine epidural. It was breech, how I corrected it. And then at the end of the day, I would usually share a little bit of family time or Taylor Swift lip syncing in my truck. That was also pretty popular. But that allowed me to have my voice. Some people are good at blogging. Some people are good at Instagram and telling their pictures. Some people are good at writing in articles for print magazine. Myself, my strengths centered around that video storytelling, that telling my story every single day. But the Snapchat just wasn't enough because it would disappear and there just wasn't the distribution. So I kept thinking, how could I tell this story in a more effective means? And that's where I landed on the vlog. So I'm going to play a little vlog episode, at least the start. So if we can cue the... Do you guys like this one? And she walked last night for the first time. Yeah. She just like stood up and that was almost 2 years ago. That's exciting. Okay, Sienna and I are on the road today. We have belly nut surgeries to do, abscesses to do, and a feedlot call. Let's go. Who broke my mug? Okay, we are at our first call, belly nuts and a stifle abscess, I think. Are you gonna do the belly nuts?
I'm gonna try.
that. So seroma is like fluid and not as. I like looking at the crowd. Put your hand down. There's two types of people in the world. People who love this and people who pass out.
All right.
Ready? 1, That's why I go through so many iPhones this year. How did you get that vlog? Okay, there's never been anything that I've posted on the internet. I posted literally hundreds and hundreds of hours of things on the internet. There's never been more outcry or backlash than me feeding that friggin' dog a testicle, okay? There is, under this video, there is thousands, there's literally thousands and thousands of comments of, that was cool until you did that, bro. I can't believe you fed that to that dog. But people losing this dog is famous in Irricana, Alberta, just so you guys know. There was such outrage, but we'll talk about that, and I think that question will come up in terms of how I manage it and kind of the after effects. But that is the vlog, okay? It is this chronological storytelling of my life. I couldn't figure out a better way to do it. It seemed so perfect. I at that time in the summer of 2015, before I started the vlog, I started thinking, what is the format? What is the context? What should this look like? And the vlog scene was just starting to get popular. There was vloggers like Casey Neistat coming onto YouTube, and they were just sharing this beautiful, rich story of their life. And I couldn't think of a better way. But I had no idea how to get to this point. I had never shot video before. I had never edited video before. I didn't own a computer that could even do video editing. I had no idea. I couldn't even get the video from my phone or my camera onto the computer. I had no idea. But I kept thinking after every single day when I would get home, I would think, was today interesting enough to be a TV show? The entirety of the day itself, was that interesting enough to be a TV show? And the answer was always yes. There was always something happening that I wanted to share, express, or tell that story. So I had to figure it out. I just decided on the day before my 31st birthday, I decided I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to record on my iPhone. A large proportion of these vlogs are recorded just on an iPhone. I'm going to record on my iPhone. I'm going to figure out how to get this uploaded. I'm going to figure out how to edit this video. I'm going to figure out how to overlay music. And I'm going to figure out how to upload this to the internet and distribute it and use it in the way that I needed to use it. And I had no idea. And on top of that, I needed to figure all of that out and then do it all over again 200 times. to do it sustainably, to be able to do it within a nighttime, to fit it into my life. I don't have very much time to be doing stuff like this. I have a 1-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son, a wife, vet practices, everything, speaking engagements, things like that. So I needed to figure it out, but it was so important to me to have this story in the format because I felt like this was my most effective means of storytelling my story. Now, what are the benefits of this? What has this gotten me in all this time? So to date, I have 232 of these videos that I've posted over the last 2 years. I'm disappointed in myself that it's not 800. It kills me every single day that I don't get one out because I feel like I should be able to do one every single day, but I just can't. Each one of these takes me 4 hours. So if you see a 7-minute video, that's 4 hours of editing for me from start to finish to upload to get something like that out. So I've tried it, and I've been able to do it 232 times. It'll be 200. This Brandon trip will be vlog 234. It's been a massive amount of time commitment, but it has afforded me all of the things that I was trying to do. Remembering that primary goal being that the next time that there was a local cattle producer that was pissed off at his home vet and was looking to switch, that I would be the next logical choice. People put me on a pedestal for doing this inspirational thing with vet students or pre-vets, but that was a byproduct. The primary goal of this was telling my story to market my product. And that's my main message to you guys in terms of what is that product that you're trying to market. And some of you guys on the cattle side or on the grain side, you're a commodity producer. You don't need to market to the masses. But there's a large proportion of you that do have that niche market where you need that story buy-in, whether you're the purebred producer, whether you're the egg dealership, whether you're the agronomist. You're trying to do the exact same thing that I'm doing. You're trying to sell that product or service to farmers, and the best way to do that is for them to trust you before you ever drive onto the farm. When I started in the practice, I remember we did a branding exercise with my partners and I. We did a branding exercise, and the question was from the branding person, the professional that we had hired, how many new clients do you get every single year? The answer was 1 to 2 per year. That's what we were used to. We have a small client base. They're progressive farmers. We weren't growing. We were just very nice and happy. Right now, it can be at times 5 to 6 new clients per week. And the most amazing thing about that is they trust me before I even step out of the truck. They've called me because they've trusted me as a veterinarian. They trust me as a person because of what I've put up on the internet. I get greeted by kids with plates of cookies. The producers have watched every single video. They know my family. They know my history. They trust me as a person. They trust me as a veterinarian. And I haven't even touched one of their animals yet. Do you know? I don't know how to recreate that any other way. That is incredibly special to me that I have that buy-in from them before I have even met them. Traditionally, that takes years because what are the touch points in veterinary medicine? I'll do your semen testing, not your semen testing, your bull's semen testing. That's another story. I'll do your preg testing, and maybe you'll have a sick animal that you'll get me to look at throughout the year, but my touch points with my clientele would be 1 to 2 times a year. So it takes forever to build up that kind of trust. I could have one bad day and lose all of that, and now they're greeting me with all of the trust in the world that I'm going to attend to their animals as an experienced professional, and they're going to have as best outcome as possible for the case. I don't know how to recreate it. I just don't. And that has afforded us a lot of success and growth within our practice. But there's so many other good things that has brought as well. In terms of my existing clientele, it's been huge as well. Things like pre-breeding palpations. So I'll do ultrasound and pelvic measurements in heifers prior to breeding to call out anybody that has a small pelvis, anybody who's not cycling free Martin, so a non-cycling female twin to a bull. things with cysts, things with abscesses, a variety of different diseases that I would be calling out. But I would do maybe 1,000 a year, mostly just for one client. But the first year that I started the vlog, so I'll do 1,000 at this one client's place. It's a large client. And I started sharing that with the vlog of today or this week, I'm going out and doing these pre-breeding palpations. And then all of my clientele that were following, I've been talking till I was blue in the face, trying to convince them that this is maybe a good thing for them to do. But as soon as they saw it, as soon as they saw their neighbor doing it was the main thing, then they're like, okay, this is what I have to do. And I've been able to grow that business. I've been able to expand the business even within my existing clientele just because they can see those options. And even something that's as simple as a broken leg in a baby calf. Some producers just don't know that there's options out there for fixing it, that it's quick, that it's easy. A broken leg this was a very common one, a broken leg in a larger animal. It wasn't until I did a vlog where I had actually casted a fracture in a 700-pound heifer did we start getting calls with fractures in 700-pound animals, because they just thought that it wasn't an option. Some other vet had told them that you can't cast a calf that's that heavy, and then they see it in a vlog and they're like, well, Cody did it, so let's do it. It's that client education within my existing clientele that has also allowed us to grow the practice. So beyond that, there's a lot of niceties that the vlog has brought. The speaking engagement. I love to be in front of you guys. I love to meet new people. I love to experience new things. I get to do a lot of speaking engagements. I think I have like 15 in the next 3 months. It's not an exaggeration. There's a lot of that. That has also grown our business as well. It's added to that credibility. Veterinary student, I talked about it a little bit, but veterinary student inspiration. I did not set out to do this to be an inspiration, but there's a funny thing that happened is there's all of these vet students or young veterinarians that all of a sudden see that there's somebody who's young out in practice that actually enjoys what they're doing. There's some serious problems in the veterinary medicine industry. We have 4 times higher suicide rate than almost any other profession. There is a lot of very, very unhappy professionals out there from a combination of different things. Sometimes we kind of have a weird personality. On top of that, we have $200,000 worth of student loans. On top of that, we will literally perform heroics all day long on puppies and kitties and then get chewed out by a client because the bill's too high. There's a lot of things in our jobs that make for cynical or miserable individuals, and then they see me over here with my camera and my cows and my farmers, and I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy. I have a successful work-life balance, that my kids know my name. That's kind of a rare thing for some of the older generations of cow vets out there. That my wife seemingly likes me. That I'm running a successful business. That my vet techs look up to me and appreciate me for what I am. There's a lot of things in that lent to that inspiration, that people who think, well, I wanted to go into veterinary medicine, but I talked to our vet and he's just a sour old coot, and now I don't want to do that. And now I'm seeing you, Cody, and you're inspiring me to do that. You're inspiring me to not only do it, but if you're having a bad day within vet school, the number of messages I get during midterms and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, this is just a reality. The number of messages I get during midterms and finals from veterinary students who are at the end of their rope. They want to quit. They are done. There is nothing else, because there's no light at the end of the tunnel for them. There's no way that they could visualize that practice will be worth it if you just push through. And like I talked about animal agriculture, this me being a beacon of support for the Canadian cattle industry, or even the cattle industry in general. I did not set out to advocate to be this agricultural influencer within the beef cattle sphere. I come from a farm background. I completely get that the need within the industry, but it's been a byproduct, and I also get put up on a pedestal for showing people's true story, showing the transparency, showing that cows die, showing that producers are calling veterinarians and spending well-earned money on our services. It's been a weird thing for me, because I have not tried purposely to be this advocate. And I don't feel like I can be the perfect advocate for the industry. I think that has to come from the beef cattle producers themselves, that storytelling. You guys will hear all the time about the word social license, the transparency, the consumer buy-in, that there's threats coming from all around in terms of PETA or Humane Society, or people who are only for organic food. Like there's a ton of pressure within the industry, so you need to get out there and you need to tell your story, but that's what needs to come from you guys. And I don't have a good answer in terms of encouraging people to start what I'm doing, to share their story. There's no right answer with that, because everybody's going to have their own, I guess, set of skills that is best suited for them, whether that is just talking to people in the local coffee shop. That is a real set of skills that some people are going to use to advocate that industry. But at the end of the day, if people don't understand what we do, then they're never going to be able to base their decisions on the food that they eat based off of real, true information. And I honestly, if every consumer was well-informed because of transparent storytelling from the agriculture industry, and they then decided that what we're doing is not wholesome or good or welfare friendly to animals, but they knew the true story and they decided that that was the case, then that's their right. They're the consumer. They're the end user of our products. But what I can't stand for is for them to make that decision based off of that misinformation, that they make that decision that what I'm doing in a day-to-day isn't wholesome or isn't right. And I'll be the first to admit it's not perfect. The animal agriculture industry is not perfect by any means. The only thing that I hope to share is that we try to make it better every single day, just moving the needle incrementally to make that improvement every single day. But I can't tell that story alone. And like I'm trying to share here today, that's also not what I've set out to do either. It's as an industry of those looking towards those beacons of who else can tell this story, because it needs to come from you guys too. It needs to come from the producer level, and there is great examples of that, but I feel like we're just so overwhelmed, and I feel like it was so easy for me to do this and to become an advocate for the Canadian cattle industry that somebody else can do it, and it will really lend to that transparency within our industry. Okay, with that, I'm going to stop right there because I want to leave a few minutes for questions, because I think there might be some. Questions? Yes, I knew you would. Is it, reframe the question, and then I'll say it out loud so you guys can hear. Oh, yes. Okay, the question was, can you go to university, take a break, and then come back to university without issue? Absolutely, and I would advocate that for everybody. I was the complete opposite of that. I was the worst person in the world. I wanted to be a veterinarian so bad since the time I was 16 years old. I was just breathing and eating, and I had that sick feeling in my stomach that I was never going to get to be a cow vet. But I wish I would have took a gap year. I wish I would have taken time off between high school and university, and I wish I took time off in between university and vet school, not on my own will. I just didn't get into vet school, so I had to go be a pipeliner and a pen checker. It's fine. It doesn't matter. I think people don't have enough patience, and you're so young. It's just, you have literally your entire life ahead of you. Don't even think about that until you're 35. Any more questions? No more questions? Am I missing somebody? If you're wearing a shirt, you have to ask a question. Not like shirt, one of my shirts. Yeah, great question. So what are the negative impacts from sharing my story online, from sharing an abscess video, from sharing this beautiful collie dog eating a testicle? What are the... I think the first question is how do I deal with those negative comments? I get a lot of negative comments. Most of it's on YouTube. Facebook is much more my tribe. It's you guys. It's farmers. It's vet students. You understand the context. YouTube can be random people that I'll get very, very mean comments. I've had every single mean thing that you could ever say to a human being said to me. But I actually enjoy those comments the best. I don't really like the nice comments because I can't do anything with those nice comments. What I really, really love is the mean, negative comments. And it's in how I respond to those. And it's not that I'm trying to change that person's mind. You're never going to change crazy, right? Crazy is crazy. But what I'm doing is I'm using that as a push point of being able to then grab onto an idea or a concept that I want to distribute to the rest of the world and leave that in a comment for the person that's on the fence, the 10 people that are on the fence and making up their minds about what I'm doing, making up their minds about animal agriculture, trying to figure it all out. And it's by that response that I think that I'm leaving some sort of impact, that I every time appreciate that negative comment because then it gives me that opportunity to then be able to explain my side of the story. This comment got all the time, how can you rip the comment, how can you just rip the testicle? Well, some people didn't even realize what I was doing. But how can you rip the testicles out of those animals without providing any sort of pain relief? I say, that's a wonderful question. I'm glad you asked. I'm sorry I didn't outline it in the video, but you can see at timestamp whatever, I provided epidural anesthesia. This would be a comment that I would write. I provided epidural anesthesia. So he had desensitization of his tail and the hind part of his scrotum. And I also gave him a testicular block that then blocked all of the pain in his testicle and his cord. And then I also gave him oral meloxicam, which is an oral anti-inflammatory, basically like an ibuprofen. And that also controlled his pain and beautifully in cattle that last 3 days. So I did provide an adequate amount of anesthesia. And I'm not trying to convince that other person. I've just provided now this information to a group of people that had that same question. So the negative things that I've got, I would say, are very, very minor. I know there's a group of veterinarians out there that probably dislike me quite a bit because every time they go to a farm, the farmer says, well, Cody said this. Well, Cody didn't do it that way. And I've had comments from very good-natured veterinarians saying like, dude, I have to watch every video you do just so I have something to talk to my farmers about. Because that's all they're talking about when you show up. But I'm sure there's the annoyed veterinarian out there that's like, what is this guy doing? I get it. I totally get some of the negativity. But in terms of the kind of negative blowback from the anti-animal agriculture people, it's been very, very minor. They're not that vocal of a group. I think they get more of a say within our media organizations than what is truly the case. If that was the case, I should be flooded and inundated every single day with negative comments with a volume of things. On my YouTube channel, I have 5 million total views. Like, it's getting viewed, right? And the amount of negative comments is very small in comparison to all of the good comments and support. Ooh, yes.
You might consider this a negative comment too, but now that you've learned all these wonderful things that you can do with this tech,
Yes.
where are your priorities? Are they to become famous or to become...
Very good question. So now that I have learned all of this technologies, where is my priorities? To become famous or to be a veterinarian? I love that question. See, I love those questions better than I love the positive ones. My priorities is just to tell my story. My priorities are to market my business, to be a successful businessman. And my priorities are even a little more maybe narcissistic than you would expect. It is not so much about being famous as it would be legacy. Now imagine this. Imagine if you could watch video of your dad or your grandpa when he was 30 years old, raising up his young family, doing what he did as a cattle producer or as an engineer or whatever it was, and to have that story captured the way that I've captured. More so than anything to do with fame, I think about that legacy that I would be providing to my children. Could you imagine having that catalog of information on one of your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents? I have like 3 pictures of my dad I have one picture of my grandpa. That story is lost. These were people telling the most amazingly rich stories, and it's evaporated, it's gone. And I feel like that at the very least, I can have something that I can go back to and watch my career unfold, and I can give that to my kids, and I can give that to the future generations of the Creelman line, that now there's this digital catalog going back to essentially me being the first. Because if you search past me, there's nothing about my dad, there's nothing about my grandpa, there's certainly nothing about my great-great-grandpa that's cataloged anywhere. Does that answer your question? Legacy. Yes. Ooh, what would it take for me to be a cow vet out here or set up a veterinary practice? So I did not come here to pitch any veterinary services. That's true. So my practice actually serves Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia. We have feedlots in Manitoba that we serve. We just fly vets out, and they do their thing. So I'm not saying that that's going to work for everybody, right? With the business that I'm growing, that's Mosaic Veterinary Partners. That's the group that I own in conjunction with my partners that purchases mixed animal practices across right now Alberta. It's going to soon be Saskatchewan, but essentially that's what we're also trying to do. We're trying to support small rural communities and provide them with high quality veterinary services from the small animal side as well, but also to make sure that legacy continues and that there is high quality medicine in a lot of rural communities. So I'm not stopping at 4 practices, is what I'm trying to say. But no plans for Manitoba yet. Okay, perfect. To get into vet school or to be prepared? So the top 3 things for aspiring vet students to get into vet school or to be prepared. So a variety of food animal experience. I worked in a dairy farm, I worked in a hog farm, I worked in a beef farm, I worked at a feedlot, and I was a meat hygiene inspector for the CFIA. The breadth of experience is so incredibly important. They want to see well-rounded individuals. And not just that, they like that I was a pipeliner for 6 months. Like that you have that real-world experience. That's first and foremost. The second is communication. As good as your resume is when you get into vet school, it still comes down to the interview, and you have to be able to sell yourself in that interview. So you could have the most amazing credentials, but if you can't talk, you're not selling yourself and you're not getting in. And the third thing would just be GPA. Unfortunately, the GPA is still such a huge portion of getting into vet school. That's what I almost didn't get in because of my first year university marks. So it has to be that constant focus and figuring out how best you can have as high a marks as possible. It's not all about the marks, but the marks get you the interview and the interview gets you in. Yes?
When you first started out, you talked about now it's about 4 hours of video.
Yeah.
How steep was your learning curve, and what kind of a value, I mean, the legacy thing probably answers a little bit, but what kind of a value do you put on that 4 hours?
Oh, that's...
The economics or just how it fits your life?
Okay, so the question is now that it takes 4 hours for me to do one of these videos, where do I put the value in that time, and how has that changed?
Yeah, to you, your business.
Yeah, to me, my business, everything else. So that's a great question. I think maybe that come down to a little bit of your question is, if you're spending all this time doing this, where's the vet med part? I guarantee you I sleep less than you, number one. I cut out a lot of stupid shit that I was doing. Game of Thrones, House of Cards, Netflix and chill. Well, I cut out a ton of stuff ton of time that I was wasting. I don't open this laptop until 10 p.m. Every vlog that has ever been created has been created between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. I fit that into the time. I haven't taken away from my family. I haven't taken away from my practice. I do not edit that video. It is time that I've created and made more efficient, and when I didn't have any time left, I just slept less. And you would think that I would get quicker and quicker at editing as I got better or faster, but it's actually been the case. I feel like almost some of my videos are taking longer now because they're more complex. There's more audio edits. There's more scene cuts. It's a more comprehensive story. But yeah, I cut out the stupid shit. Yes? So what influence would I have over the vet schools to increase the enrollment of large animal veterinarians? Almost none. Because it's based off of a political bureaucratic system that has interviews and it's left up to a committee, and the ability for me to try to negotiate that, I feel, is nearly impossible. That said, I do have the ear of the deans who've asked for my input, because the one thing that I do have is when I put out a video, they hear about it if I criticize things like the governmental cuts at the University of Saskatchewan, where they actually have now pulled the funding for Alberta students. So they listen to my suggestions, but I don't know how much they actually put into play. Oh, yes.
How careful are you to put positive or to balance the negative and the positive of the animal side of the industry?
Yeah, so how do I balance the positive and the negative side of the animal industry? So there's certainly things. If I could edit a video that would just ruin the animal agriculture industry, there's no question. I could put together I could only do it a couple times, because then I would be fired as a veterinarian at every place that I went. But I could put together a video that just showcased the worst that my camera captures. But in parallel, I could also edit a video that made me look like the world's worst dad or husband. I could do that for anybody. If you had enough footage and a good enough editing skill, you could tell whatever story that you wanted. So there's no question I cut out a lot of the bad, and sometimes I also cut out some of the good that just doesn't fit into the story. But what I try to do is that I try to at least make sure that the story is represented by some true facts. So if I go out to a preg test and I see that every single cow that comes into the chute is being prodded unnecessarily, I'm going to step in as a veterinarian. But when I edit the video, I'm going to crop that down as to just me preg testing, and there's a guy right over here with a prod in his hand. I'm manipulating the story, there's no question. But on the flip side, so now it looks like a beautiful day, sun is shining, there's the nice collie dog chewing on the testicle, and I'm preg testing cows. But on the flip side, I do push the boundaries of what I'm showing in terms of the post-mortem pit, or euthanizing cows, or calves I had to put down. There certainly is a contrast to that. There's no question. But I guess what I try to do most importantly is when I share something, I feel like I can share anything. I do feel like I can share that prodding video. The problem is I don't always have the right context. So I feel like you can share any content as long as the context is appropriate. You know those dairy cow videos where they're picking the dairy cows up but with the forklifts and they're dragging her off? You could change the entire story of that video with a different context. That the story was she was literally starving to death, that we were hauling her into a vet clinic, that a minus 40 blizzard was rolling in, and there was nothing else that we could do besides pick this 1,500-pound animal up and take her to somewhere else. But when you just show that portion without the context, that's where it gets dangerous. So context is everything with that. Yes? Okay, so how much does the vlog influence my vet practice management and ownership business, my Mosaic business? A lot, actually, a huge proportion. And I cut out some of that for sure when I was talking to you guys. But one of the biggest things is human resources. For hiring veterinarians and hiring technicians, because they want to be part of that story. They see me the producer sees me as a veterinarian they may want to work with, but on the flip side, veterinarians see me as somebody that they would want to work under, that they would want to partner with. So it's been huge from a human resources perspective. We have a lot farther reach in being able to hire veterinarians and vet techs and fill those roles. And the other thing has also been the practice owner. So essentially what we do is in some cases there would be a practice owner who is just at the end of their career, they have no succession plan, they would contact us, and then we would do business with them, correct? The amount of veterinarians that watch the videos that know that Mosaic's even a thing is mind-blowing. The last set of practices we bought, it was predicated on that. It was a story where he was done at the end of his career and he wanted to transition out. He didn't have that succession plan, and he called me and he trusted me as a person to sit down with him at his practice and to talk about what the next phase was going to be. And I truly believe that if I didn't have the videos that he had bought into me as a person, we would have never even got to that step. I just would have been a faceless entity to him. So I think it's been big, and I feel like it'll be even more important in the future. Yes? How do I suggest that producers start advocating for animal agriculture? So the first thing to do is to recognize with self-awareness, what are you best at doing? And if you don't know what that is, then you just have to try some things. Whether that's Instagram, whether that's writing articles for the Western Producer, whether that's video, everybody's going to be different. If I was left to just writing for the rest of my life, I would quit because it would be terrible. So it's really just focusing on what you're good at first, and then just telling your authentic story through that. So if it was a blog, it would be telling about things that interested you, that stories that happened, this calf was born, it got frozen ears, just telling your story, but in the most effective means that you're going to keep up with it, and is also most effective that it plays to your abilities. Maybe you have a voice for radio, so you go and start doing podcasts. Like, it just depends on the person, and then from there you just tell your authentic story. Should we wrap it up? Yes, one more question.
You made a comment several times about authenticity. So when you get those kind of comments and question that, how do you keep that going in your mind? What keeps you moving forward? I mean, the answers are one thing, but if somebody personally assaults your character online, and when we're talking about industry stuff, that's a challenge.
Right.
How do you not let that bog you down, or how do you determine if someone else doesn't think you're authentic?
Okay. So the question was, how do I determine if someone doesn't think that I'm authentic, and if they start to question my character based off of the things that they see? So if they see a negative thing within the industry and they attack my character, how do I deal with that? And I think that just comes down to personality. I truly don't care. I care on the micro. I care that you had a good time here today, and I care that when I walk away that you think that I'm an authentic, genuine person. But on the macro of everybody, I really don't care what they say. And I think that's just a personal thing, that I enjoy those negative comments. I enjoy that backlash. I enjoy that as long as I know that I'm telling the story that I want to tell, then nothing can hurt me. I got a comment. I haven't shared this, I guess, publicly, but I got a comment because I take my kids into the postmortem pit, okay? And I got a comment just recently of somebody saying, like, I hope you die. You're the world's worst person. You took a kid into the postmortem pit. They saw these things, these dead animals. I hope your kid turns into a serial killer, okay? That doesn't affect me because I've already joked about that. I said my son's either going to be the world's greatest cow vet or he's going to be a serial killer. I've been saying that for years. That person's comment isn't going to hurt me at all. But on the micro, I care if you think my kid's going to be a serial killer. But to them, it doesn't matter. Okay, we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to stick around for a little tiny bit. I hope to go see the bulls, and then I'll try to get out of here. But if anybody wants to come down and ask questions, we're done in this room, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll stay down here for a little bit. If anybody wants to ask a question that they didn't feel brave enough to ask, just come down. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, guys.
So on behalf of the Ag Days Committee and all the people assembled who I think enjoyed Dr. Creelman's message, thank you very much, and we appreciate having you in Manitoba.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the Manitoba Ag Days podcast. We'll see you next year from January 22nd to 24th, 2019.